Husband leaves wife for her sister, not knowing she won the lottery just moments before. Marriage goes beyond walking down the aisle in a white gown with a bunch of flowers and meeting your tuxedo-dressed groom at the altar. It's a union that requires commitment, faithfulness, and love. Unfortunately, it's not always the death of a spouse that breaks up a couple. When love or loyalty dies, the couple is bound to part ways. Laura, the woman in this story, and her husband Jack were having marital challenges. Unfortunately, Jack gave up on his wife before she told him the big news. Laura loved her husband Jack, and she did everything possible to keep her marriage going. Although their union wasn't perfect, Laura assumed it was good enough. However, her heart shattered when she came across a letter from Jack. It turns out that Jack wasn't happy in their union and had decided to leave Laura for her sister. He explained everything to his wife in this letter. What Jack didn't know, as he was drafting the letter, was Laura had a significant breakthrough. As Laura was reading the letter from her husband, she struggled to keep her composure. All she could think at that moment was why their 7-year-old marriage was coming to an end. The contents of Jack's letter tore his wife's heart to pieces. The letter stated, "Dear wife, I'm writing this to inform you that I'm leaving our marriage." The statement was drastic and out of the blue, according to Laura. She had no idea that Jack felt this way. Before arriving home, Laura was ecstatic. She had received incredible news on the same day that she couldn't wait to share with her partner. However, the bitter confession from Jack that he was leaving Laura for her sister knocked her off. Jack's letter continues, "I've been your partner for 7 years long, and there is nothing to show for it. The past 2 weeks have been the worst. Your boss told me that you quit your job, and that is the last straw." Jack was tired and wasn't willing to iron out the issues between them. He continues, "Last week you didn't appreciate when I made your favorite meal, and you never noticed that I had a new haircut. I even had a new pair of silk boxers." Laura continued reading, "You ate in 2 minutes and went to sleep after watching your favorite program. I don't remember the last time you said you love me. You aren't interested in anything that connects us as husband and wife." Jack continued his lengthy letter with, "It's either you don't love me anymore or you are cheating on me. Whatever the case, I am gone. I am officially your ex-husband. Don't look for me. Your sister and I are relocating to West Virginia. Have a good life ahead." The amount of betrayal in this letter hurt Laura to the core. How could the husband betray her like this? Not only was he leaving her, but he was taking the sister. The letter came at the perfect timed moment. Had it come a day later, Laura would have had no idea how Jack had felt. At least Laura now knew that the husband was seeing her sister behind her back. Laura received the fantastic news that she had won the lottery. Despite the husband's awful letter, she was in a great mood knowing that she was among the lucky winners that had struck it big. It is during such moments that people remember their first meeting and how they fell in love. Jack and Laura met in college in the beginning. None of them was attracted to the other. However, as time went by and they spent time together, they grew fond of one another. In no time, they were deeply in love with each other. Eventually, Jack dropped out of college and started working as a bartender. They didn't know that not all love stories are meant to last a lifetime. The lovebirds were from diverse backgrounds. While Laura came from a privileged family, Jack was a part-time bartender with zero ambitions. Because of these disparities, Laura's parents were against the union. Laura's family didn't like Jack from the beginning. They wanted their daughter to live a fulfilling life and felt that Jack wouldn't offer that. Unfortunately, it was too late because Laura loved Jack to death. Jack had this strong feeling that his love for Laura was sufficient. He felt that Laura needed him and wouldn't let him go, irrespective of the circumstances. When her parents didn't approve of their relationship, they knew best. Unfortunately, children don't always go with what their parents want. Laura was in love and she decided to stay with Jack despite her parents' concerns. Nonetheless, 7 years later, she was about to regret her decision. After graduating, Laura moved in with Jack in his one-bedroom apartment. The place was a mess, the heater was malfunctioning, and the room was dingy. From the faded paint on the walls to the mess in the kitchen, it was evident that the place was not well maintained. Laura didn't mind all of these shortcomings. She was sure that Jack was the man she loved and was willing to spend the rest of her life with him. The next life chapter was exciting. 7 years later, after Laura vowed to love this man for life, Jack had disappointed her big time. For a moment, she wished that she had listened to her parents' advice. Laura knew she deserved better treatment. The The best revenge was to tell Jack about the lottery so that he knows just how much he has missed out. Laura's decision to try playing the lottery was because the couple had always been in financial debt. Having won the lottery meant that the couple's financial challenges were about to come to a close. It would have been one of those beautiful stories of people that stuck by each other irrespective of the problems they were facing. Unfortunately, their marriage was falling apart. Before the letter and all of this drama, Jack meant everything to Laura. She was willing to provide adequately for their family because Laura loved the man she married. Since they started living together, money was a scarce resource. That is why Laura took up a waitressing job in a restaurant close to their apartment. It was then that Laura learned ways to make their marriage work. However, after a few years of marriage, Laura started suspecting that something was wrong. Laura was fond of visiting Jack at the bar where he worked as a bartender. She did so to strengthen their bond. However, Laura started noticing that something was off and that her husband could have been cheating on her. People at the bar started giving her weird looks. The stares made her feel like they wanted to say something but were holding it back. Laura decided not to trust her gut feeling, something that she shouldn't have done. Laura didn't give up at playing lotteries even after she lost several times, so when she finally got a breakthrough, it made her super excited. Her first expenditure was on 2 tickets to Hawaii. Laura couldn't wait to go on a vacation with her husband. After seeing the letter that Jack left, Laura knew that there was no way she would allow the guy on the trip. After all, he had broken her heart. There was no way Laura was going to give Jack even a cent of the lottery money. Despite feeling sad and upset for herself after reading the letter, Laura had mixed feelings. She was happy about winning the lottery and tried figuring out what she would do with the prize money. Would she buy a yacht, travel, or move to a fancy house? Receiving good and bad news together can be confusing for anyone. You are put in the spotlight and have to process several feelings at once. Laura decided to respond to the letter that Jack wrote to her. Laura was dealing with a blend of feelings. She was pleased to have won the lottery but angry that Jack was leaving her. 7 years of being married to a man she loved was all that she would get out of the life she wanted, so Laura decided to put her response on paper. Dear ex-husband, you have made my day by writing that letter. We have indeed been together for 7 years, although a good man is far from what you have been. The letter read. Laura's letter continued. I watch soap operas so much because they take me out of your constant whining and griping. Sadly, they don't help. I noticed your haircut last week and I didn't like it. Since my mother taught me to be honest, there was no way I was going to lie and say that I liked it. That's why I didn't comment. When you cooked my favorite meal, you confused me with my sister because I don't eat pork. As for those silk boxers, I turned away because there was a $49.99 price tag on them. I hoped it was a coincidence because my sister had borrowed me $50 that morning. Despite my disappointment, we could have worked it out. Laura was already suspicious of her husband, and the letter was only a confirmation. It's incredible to see her with all of this strength. To clear Jack's assumptions, Laura further informed him that the reason for quitting her job was because she had won the lottery worth $15 million. According to Laura, spending quality time meant more than wasting her hours at work, especially now that she won the lottery. She wrote, when I hit the lotto for $15 million, I left my job and bought 2 tickets to Hawaii, only for me to get home and you were gone. Everything happens for a reason. I hope you fulfill the life you've always desired. Laura was struggling with feelings of rejection and betrayal. Handling everything at once wasn't an easy feat. The only good part was that she had $15 million to spend and use to change her life for the better. Laura feared that Jack might ask for some of the money since they were legally married. That is why she consulted a lawyer. She told him everything, including the handwritten letter and the lottery money. The letter concluded, my attorney has explained that the letter you left ensures that you don't get a dime from me. So take care. Signed, your beloved ex-wife, free and rich as hell. I'm not sure if I ever told you this, but my sister Carla was born Carl. I hope you don't mind that. There was no doubt that Jack was crushed when he read the letter. We can't tell whether Laura was still mad when she ended the letter, but it is rib-cracking. The idea of winning a lottery thrilled Laura. She never knew if she would win, but she stayed positive and kept trying against all odds. After everything turned out as it did between her and her husband, she must have been incredibly lucky. Jack never expected such a response after leaving a letter that expressed his willingness to flee with her younger sister. It was probably the last thing he would have expected. This was also the best revenge that Laura could have taken. Now that her tickets to Hawaii were already booked, Laura wasn't planning on missing out on vacation after Jack's disappointment. She boarded the flight and was on her way. Laura continued living with Jack even when she suspected that he was cheating. Now that she was sure there was no way she would stay with such a guy, Laura decided to buy 2 tickets for Hawaii from the lottery money. Things weren't at their best. Jack was unfaithful and he had left her. However, Laura wasn't willing to allow the disappointments to break her. Just like the old adage goes, it is darkest before the dawn. Laura's dark moments were here, but they didn't last for long. At least she didn't have to live with an unfaithful man. As she was sitting in a taxi to the airport, many things crossed Laura's mind. Above all, she was very happy and satisfied, knowing that she had a fulfilling and honest lifetime ahead of her.